London, February 1964, 8:47 p.m. The TV studio was packed. 300 people, studio audience, crew, cameramen, sound technicians, everyone there for one reason. The Beatles. Live performance. Their first major TV appearance since Ed Sullivan. Britain's biggest variety show. Millions watching at home. The Beatles stood on stage, instruments ready, lights hot, cameras rolling. They just finished their second song. Perfect performance. Crowd screaming. Everything going exactly as planned. The director signaled, commercial break, 2 minutes. The Beatles stepped back from the microphones, relaxed slightly, wiped sweat, adjusted guitars. Normal between-song routine. That's when it happened. A girl in the front row stood up, maybe 16, pale, shaking. She wasn't screaming like the others, wasn't jumping, wasn't trying to get their attention. She was just standing, crying, silent tears running down her face. Paul noticed her first. Something about her was different. The way she stood, the way she cried. Not excited crying, not fan crying. Something else, something desperate. Paul walked to the edge of the stage, crouched down, eye level. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly. The girl shook her head, couldn't speak, just crying. The studio was supposed to be loud, screaming, chaos, but something shifted. People nearby noticed, started quieting down, watching, understanding something was happening, something important. John walked over, then George, then Ringo. All 4 Beatles at the edge of the stage, looking at this one girl, this one person in a sea of 300, who wasn't celebrating, who was breaking. And what happened in the next 15 minutes didn't just stop a TV show, it changed everyone in that studio, reminded them that behind every fan, every screaming face, every ticket bought, were real people, with real pain, real loss, real reasons for being there that had nothing to do with music and everything to do with survival. But to understand why the entire studio went silent, why what this girl said mattered more than any performance, you need to understand who she was and why she'd come. Her name was Anne Morrison, 16 years old, from Manchester. She'd saved for 6 months to afford the train ticket to London, the ticket to the show, the chance to see the Beatles live. Not because she was their biggest fan, because her brother had been. Michael Morrison, 18 years old, died 3 weeks earlier. Car accident, drunk driver, wrong place, wrong time, gone. Michael had loved the Beatles, obsessed over them, played their records constantly, learned guitar trying to copy them, talked about seeing them live, about getting tickets, about experiencing them in person. He never got the chance. Anne had the tickets, 2 tickets. She'd bought them as a Christmas present for Michael. Surprise tickets, show in February, their first major TV appearance. He would have lost his mind with excitement, but Michael was gone, and Anne was left with 2 tickets, one for her, one for a ghost. She almost didn't come. What was the point? Michael wasn't here. Watching the Beatles without him felt wrong, felt like betrayal, felt like moving on when moving on wasn't possible. But her mum had insisted. Go, Michael would want you to go. Don't waste the tickets, don't waste the chance. Honor him by going. So Anne came, alone, sat in the front row, Michael's ticket empty beside her, and tried to watch, tried to enjoy, tried to feel something other than grief. But when the Beatles started playing, when the music filled the studio, when everyone around her screamed and cried with joy, Anne broke. Because Michael should have been here, should have been screaming, should have been alive. Now, standing in front of Paul McCartney, with all 4 Beatles looking at her, she couldn't hold it together anymore. "I'm sorry," she managed to say through tears. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't be crying. This is supposed to be happy." Paul's voice was gentle. "Why are you crying?" "My brother, he died. 3 weeks ago. He loved you. He was supposed to be here. But he's gone. And I came anyway. And I don't know why. I don't know what I'm doing here." The studio went completely silent. 300 people. Not a sound. Even the crew stopped. Cameras still rolling, but nobody caring about the show anymore. Everyone understanding they were witnessing something real, something that mattered more than entertainment. John crouched down next to Paul. "What was your brother's name?" "Michael. Michael Morrison." "Tell us about Michael," John said quietly. "He learned guitar because of you, played your songs constantly, drove our mom mad playing the same records over and over. He had tickets to this show. I bought them for Christmas. He never got to use them." George's eyes were wet. "We're so sorry." "It's not your fault," It's nobody's fault. It was an accident, but he's gone. And I'm here, and it feels wrong. Paul looked at the empty seat beside Anne. Is that his seat? Anne nodded. Can we do something? Paul asked. Can we play a song for Michael? For your brother? So he's here. In the only way he can be. Anne couldn't speak, just nodded, tears streaming. The Beatles stood, walked back to their instruments. Paul turned to the director. We're playing one more song, not on the schedule, but we're playing it. For someone who can't be here. The director nodded, couldn't speak, too moved. Paul addressed the studio audience. This next song isn't for you. I mean, you can listen, but it's for someone who can't be here. For Michael Morrison, who loved music, who loved the Beatles, who was supposed to be in that empty seat. This is for him. The studio stayed silent, reverent, understanding they were part of something sacred. The Beatles played a slow song, beautiful, emotional, not one of their hits, something deeper, something that spoke to loss, to absence, to the people who should be here but aren't. Anne stood, hands over her face, crying, but different crying now, not breaking crying, healing crying. The kind that comes when someone sees your pain, acknowledges it, honors it. When the song ended, silence, complete silence. 300 people, not moving, not screaming, just standing in the presence of something bigger than entertainment, bigger than fame, bigger than music. Then someone started clapping, slow, deliberate. Then everyone, not excited applause, respectful applause, honoring applause. For Anne, for Michael, for the Beatles who'd stopped a TV show to see one person. Paul walked back to the edge of the stage. Anne, can you come up here? Anne looked terrified. I can't, I'll mess up your show. You're not messing up anything. Come up here, please. The crew helped Anne onto the stage. She stood there, in front of 300 people, millions watching at home, next to the Beatles, shaking, overwhelmed. John put his arm around her shoulders. Michael was here tonight. You brought him. By coming, by honoring him, he was here. Thank you, Anne whispered. Thank you for seeing me, for stopping, for caring. That's what music is for, Paul said. Not just entertainment, connection, seeing people, honoring people. Your brother loved music. He'd be proud of you. Coming here, being brave, keeping his memory alive. Ringo handed Anne his drumsticks. These are for you, for Michael, so you remember tonight. Remember that he mattered, that his love of music mattered, that you mattered enough for us to stop everything. Anne held the drumsticks like they were sacred. I'll never forget this. Neither will we, George said. The director approached. We need to finish the show. Commercial break is over. But Paul shook his head. The show is finished. This is what mattered. This moment, this person, this honoring. That's the show. They ended the broadcast there. No more songs, no more planned segments. Just ended with Anne on stage, with the Beatles around her, with a studio full of people who'd witnessed something they'd never forget. The show aired that night, exactly as it happened. The breakdown, the stopping, the honoring. Millions of people watched Anne Morrison stand on stage crying, watched the Beatles stop everything for one person. The next day, headlines everywhere. Beatles stop TV show for grieving girl. Anne Morrison's brother honored by Beatles. When music became more than entertainment. But the most important headline was in the Manchester Guardian, written by Anne's mother. Thank you for seeing my daughter. The article. Last night, the Beatles did something extraordinary. They stopped their performance, their TV show, their carefully planned program, for my daughter, for my son, for our family's grief. They saw Anne, really saw her. Not as a fan, not as a number in an audience, as a person in pain. And they honored that. They honored Michael. They honored us. And in doing so, they showed what it means to be human, to see people, to stop when someone needs you to stop. Music didn't heal our grief, but being seen did. Being honored did. Knowing Michael's love of music mattered enough to stop a TV show. That helped. That will always help. Thank you, Beatles, for stopping, for caring, for seeing my daughter when she felt invisible in her grief. Anne Morrison kept those drumsticks her entire life. Never sold them, never thought about selling them. They weren't about money, they were about being seen, about Michael being honored, about the night the Beatles proved that people matter more than shows. She became a grief counselor, working with teenagers who'd lost siblings, lost friends, lost people who mattered. And in every session, she told the story about the TV show, about breaking down, about the Beatles stopping everything for her. Grief makes you feel invisible, she'd tell her clients. Like your pain doesn't matter. Like you should just move on, get over it. But sometimes, someone sees you, someone stops, someone says, your pain matters, your loss matters, you matter. The Beatles did that for me, and I do it for you. Your grief is valid, your loss is real, you matter. 30 years later, 1994, Anne was invited to speak at a Beatles convention. She brought the drumsticks, told the story. The room was silent. 500 Beatles fans, not screaming, not celebrating, just listening. Understanding that the Beatles had been more than musicians. They'd been people who stopped, who saw, who cared. Someone asked, "Do you still miss Michael?" Every day, grief doesn't end, but it changes. It becomes something you carry instead of something that crushes you. And that night, that TV show, that moment, the Beatles helped me understand that Michael's memory could be honored, that his love of music mattered, that I could carry him without being buried by him. Did you ever thank them properly? I wrote letters to each of them after John died, after George died, thanking them, telling them what that night meant. Paul wrote back, said, "You thanked us that night by being brave, by being honest, by showing us that music is about people, not performances. You taught us something. Thank you." That letter hangs in Anne's office now, next to the drumsticks, next to a photo of Michael. Reminders that being seen matters, that stopping matters, that people are more important than shows. But the story rippled further than anyone expected. After that broadcast, thousands of letters arrived at the BBC, not fan mail, grief mail. People sharing their losses, their pain, their stories of siblings, parents, friends who'd loved the Beatles but never got to see them, who died before the chance came. The Beatles read every letter, all of them. It took months, but they read them, and they responded. Not with form letters, with real responses. Personal acknowledgments. "We're sorry for your loss. Your person mattered. Their love of music mattered." One letter stood out, from a mother in Leeds. Her son had died in Vietnam, 18 years old. He'd loved the Beatles, had a poster in his room, played their records before shipping out. Never came home. Paul called her, personally, spent an hour on the phone, listening, not talking, just listening to a mother grieve her son. Just being present, just proving that her pain mattered enough to stop his day, to make a phone call, to be human instead of famous. That phone call changed how that mother grieved. "I'd been invisible," she said later. "Nobody wanted to hear about my son, about my pain. They wanted me to move on, be strong." But Paul McCartney listened for an hour, and that hour saved me, gave me permission to grieve, to miss my son, to honor him. The TV industry changed too. After that broadcast, shows started adding moments, quiet moments, human moments, pauses for grief, for recognition, for acknowledging that audiences weren't just consumers, they were people, with losses, with pain, with reasons for being there that transcended entertainment. One producer wrote, "The Beatles taught us something we'd forgotten, that the show doesn't matter, the people watching do, that stopping for one person matters more than entertaining millions, that humanity beats content every time." Anne's work as a grief counselor reached thousands. She ran support groups specifically for people who'd lost loved ones to sudden death, accidents, violence, the losses that don't make sense, that feel cruel, that break people in ways that can't be fixed, only survived. In every group, she brought those drumsticks. Let people hold them, touch them, feel them. "These represent being seen," she'd say. "When you feel invisible in your grief, when people tell you to move on, to get over it, remember someone saw me, someone stopped, someone said, your pain matters. I see you, your pain matters." February 1964. The Beatles finished a song on live TV, and instead of continuing, instead of following the schedule, instead of doing what was expected, they stopped. They saw a girl crying. They honored her grief. They acknowledged her brother. They proved that sometimes the most important thing you can do is stop the show. Stop performing. Stop pretending everything is fine, and see the person who's breaking. The entire studio went silent. Not because the performance ended, because they witnessed something bigger than entertainment. They witnessed humanity. They witnessed 4 famous musicians choosing one grieving girl over millions of viewers, choosing connection over content, choosing people over performance. That's everything. Look, if this story moved you, if you've grieved, if you've felt invisible in your pain, do me a favor, hit that like button. Share this with someone who's grieving, Who needs to know their pain matters, their loss matters, they matter. We've completed 86 Beatles stories, 86 reminders that the Beatles stopped. They saw people. They chose humanity over performance. Every single time. Drop a comment and let me know. Have you lost someone? Do you carry their memory? Has anyone stopped for you? Turn those notifications on. Remember, grief doesn't end, but being seen helps. Being honored helps. Knowing your loss matters helps. And the Beatles proved that on live TV when they stopped everything for Morrison.